I know. Those intrusive thoughts, those pesky little rats in your brain can infiltrate. Those intrusive thoughts can be coming in hard. It's like rats and mice and squirrels all like having a circus up in there. Some people call it monkey mind, right? Because they are playing tricks on you. Those intrusive thoughts, I know, can come in super hard and then transform into fear, anxiety, doom, and gloom. And that doesn't do anybody any good. The only people that helps are people who are trying to control you. Why would people who want to control you want you in a state of fear, doom, gloom, anxiety? Because you're much easier to control if you're terrified. You're much more pliable if you don't trust your instincts, if you don't believe in inherent good. If everything's out to get you, then there's no hope. And when you don't have any hope, you have no faith, you will do whatever anybody says for you to do. Thank you so much for being here. First of all, I want to acknowledge you. If you're having these intrusive thoughts that are like annoying little gnats that you cannot get rid of, and the gnats multiply, or rather lice, I guess, right? Like, because lice are not nice, and they will multiply. If you miss one, they have babies and babies and babies. And so you might have in these not so nice lice up in your head as intrusive thoughts. So first I want to acknowledge you, because if you found this video because you're looking up like how to get rid of intrusive thoughts, then it's probably not a very feel-good place. So first I want to acknowledge you, that you matter. And hopefully by the end of this video, you can discover some ways to get rid of the lice, get rid of those thoughts, right? My daughter had a lice outbreak at her school, and we went immediately to a lice expert because I was like, I'm not gonna play around with this, right? And she was up in there with a magnifying glass and a light, and it was like very intense. She went hair by hair. And she said what most people do instead is they go to the convenience store and they buy this lice shampoo. And she said, it works sometimes a little bit. She said before the FDA like really regulated it, it worked because it was like highly toxic. But she said now it's so tame, not only does it not work, but even if it works a little bit, it's not enough, because one lice has babies and babies and babies and babies and babies. So she said you have to literally extricate them at their root. But what do we do with these thoughts? How do we extricate them at their root? Now, some people say, oh, just think positive. And the people, maybe this is you, who are like, that's wonderful, except I'm having terrible anxiety and I can't just think positive. That's the problem. So today we're going to address this and really get to the bottom of it so we can extricate them. Does that mean that lice never exist in the world? Does that mean that these intrusive thoughts may not come in? No, but you will have a plan to execute rather than just buying the cheap shampoo and hoping that it works. Did that analogy land? I hope so. The first step is reframing. So we're going to talk about some serious intrusive thoughts. We're going to talk about some not so serious ones, right? Because there's definitely a spectrum. Some of them are like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And some are just, I'm worried about this or that. And then it leads to, oh my God, I'm going to die, right? So let's start with little. We'll go big or go home, right? Okay, so I remember back in the day when I lived in LA. I lived in LA in my early 20s for over a decade, and I learned quite a lot. First of all, not everybody wants your help. So sometimes these intrusive thoughts come in because Maybe you're trying to help somebody and they snap at you. They hate you for it. And you're like, I was just trying to help and like follow my heart and my instincts. So that can make you feel self-doubt because you're like, I was actually coming from a really good place and I was so misunderstood. And not only that, they attacked me. Walking the streets of LA, not like that, but you know, back in the day when you could actually walk around, I lived in Santa Monica, which was a beautiful place at the time. And there was a homeless man on the street and I had an extra apple in my purse. So I thought he had a sign that said he was hungry. So I handed him the apple just out of the goodness of my heart. I thought, here you go. I was actually broke as a joke at the time. It was probably all I was going to eat that day myself. But I thought I'd give it to him. And then he threw it at me. And he said, I ain't got no teeth, you stupid model bitch. Whoa. I turned to my friend. I said, he thinks I'm a model. Not exactly how the interaction I thought would play out in my mind. And I could have really taken that as like, I'm a terrible person, right? But instead, I took it as I'm a model. Homeless guy thinks I'm a model. It's a big win for the day. And I got to still eat my apple later. Now you might say, Leah, that is silly. I have bigger problems than that, okay? And I get it. So let's address some bigger fears, right? The last few years especially, we've been infiltrated with fear. And if you watch the news at all, there's a lot of fear. So one suggestion I would say is to not watch the news. It's all opinion-based anyway nowadays. It's not factual. I have a journalism degree, by the way, and now I understand what my journalism professors were talking about back in the cave days, but it was a long time ago, okay? It was a while back in the early 2000s. And actually, when did I graduate? I guess I graduated in 2000. So I was actually in college in the 1900s. Can you imagine? So back in the 1900s, I had a journalism professor straight up tell me she had left. I'm not going to name names, okay? But she had left a major network. She was an anchor at a major television network. And she said, sadly, journalism is going to be a thing of the past. But I'm still going to teach you the old school journalism, which is to deliver facts and allow the audience to come up to their own conclusion. She said that is going to be a thing of the past very soon. She said that's why she left the news, because it made her sick that they were distorting the truth and people were actually losing their jobs if they delivered the facts. They had to deliver biased information. This was back in the 1900s, right? So she was like a prophet telling me this stuff. But I was like, what do you mean? She said, I'm going to teach you to deliver the facts. And imagine that your audience is smart, intelligent, that they can decipher between the facts and come up with their own conclusion, that it's not the journalist's job to tell people what to think and to exclude information to try to persuade them to think one way. So now I know why she was saying that, because journalism is a thing of the past. So I would invite you not to watch the news. And you say, well, how am I going to get information? Well, you're going to get information because you're in the world. And if you do watch the news, I invite you to watch all different outlets, not one, because if you try to decipher between all that information, maybe somewhere in there you can find some nuggets of truth and still come to your own conclusion. But so much of it is fear-based. And that fear is going to keep you in a state of panic. Look what most people were in the last few years. Many people were terrified, okay? Then you go, well, Leah, how can I not be scared? The world is doomed and blah, blah, blah. First of all, I ask you, what does that do for you? How does that help you? And how does that information help humanity? What are you doing with that information? Is it just turning on you and making you feel anxious, doom and gloom? If the answer is yes, then it's not healthy for you. So I would look at that. If you absolutely have to watch it, maybe you're a part of it, then I invite you not to watch it at least a few hours before bed. and at least for the first few hours when you wake up in the morning, to have a clear state of consciousness so that you can have the messages come through without being infiltrated by all the fear out there. So if you're wondering, how am I going to pay off all these student loans, or how am I going to pay off that big loan I took out during, the last few years, you have an opportunity for a giant success story. It's going to be epic and much more inspiring than the person who's like, nothing ever happened to me and then I was successful, the end. We don't like movies like that. That's boring. So if you're in struggle, oh my gosh, your triumph can be huge and extremely inspiring. Just discover the why. Why do I want to do it? Which brings me to my next point. Okay, so what if one of your fears, say, is debt? Maybe you just got out of college and you're worried about the student debt that you have. Maybe you just took out a big loan during the last couple of years and all the craziness, and you don't know how you're going to pay it back. And again, there's going to be a lot of information out there that's like, you should be scared and we're doomed and it's an economic crisis. Again, ask yourself, what is that information doing for me? If you are a student getting out of college, I invite you to ask yourself, why do you believe that all the knowledge you just obtained in college is not going to help you in your career, is not going to help you make that money back? And if the answer is no, it's not going to help me make that money back, then I think the bigger question over any kind of loan is, why are people not teaching how to apply the knowledge? Because see, knowledge is free. I love Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he talks about this then, about how knowledge is free. But see, people don't appreciate free knowledge, because you could go to the library for free without any debt. But see, we haven't been trained to instill that belief and discipline in ourselves that you could get this knowledge and do it yourself. Now, of course, there are certain careers like doctor, lawyer, that you have to have that degree. You can't just go, I'm going to operate brain surgery today on my friend. No, there's certain things, I get it, that you need to go to school for. But outside of that, why is it that you're not able to apply the knowledge that you just got so that you can get all that money back? So the bigger question is, why don't I believe in myself to be able to apply this knowledge that I just paid so much money for? I valued that knowledge, otherwise I wouldn't have paid for it. So why do I feel that it has no value now? Now the world might jump in and say, well, because the economy and blah, blah, blah. But there are billionaires in this world. Are they smarter, better, bigger, brighter than you? No. Henry Ford had a 6th grade education. You might say, well, that was a different time. Well, you invent a brand new engine right now. You invent something. They had less resources. So I always find it funny that people will argue, well, it was a different time then. Yeah, Shakespeare was writing by candlelight. There were less resources available and people did incredible things. Edison also didn't have this formal education and a lot less resources than we have right now. So you have an ability to have all the resources at your fingertips from your phone a lot of times. You have a whole college education right there in your phone. The problem is applying it. So I would invite you to ask yourself, why am I not applying it? Where in the application am I missing the mark here? Where am I buying into the fear? Instead of asking, how am I going to recover from all this debt? That's not the question that's going to empower you. How is never an empowering question, believe it or not. How always gets us in trouble. Ask any big business leader who has succeeded. How gets you in trouble? How gets you in the nitty-gritty of like, oh, it can't be done? Why is a bigger question. Why do I want to do this? Why did I obtain this knowledge? Why do I believe that I can't become the great success that I believed was possible when I took out this loan? Why have I allowed fear to infiltrate my mind and my well-being. Why do I want this business? Why do I want to be of service in this way? The why is always going to be more powerful than the how. The why comes first, and the how will come after. Just like in acting, I teach acting, and I'm a very good acting teacher, and I'm proud to say that. So if you're interested in learning how to act, I can do that. A problem sometimes is actors come to it and they go, well, how would I say that line? A bad line reader who's filled with fear goes, how would I say that line? Oh, can we change that line? And they want to change and manipulate the circumstances of the play or whatever it is. No, just like in life, you can't do that. The circumstances are what they are. Instead of asking, how would I say that? A more empowering question is, why would I say that? And you don't pre-plan how you would say anything. That's how I teach acting in the Meisner technique. And by the way, it can help non-actors alike, because what's the key to any success in any area of life? Imagination. What is one of the biggest places that people dismiss quickest? Imagination. Oh, I don't have time to play. When you were a kid, you played. When you were a kid, you used your imagination. Your imagination is key into understanding the why. So I help entrepreneurs, I help therapists, I help lawyers. So it's not just for actors, especially the Meisner technique. If you're interested, please sign up for a free discovery call. I only have so many free discovery call opportunities in my schedule. So if you are interested in learning more, please click that link below. It's a free discovery call with this imaginative part of you that can create huge success in your world. But to circle back to the acting thing, a lot of bad actors with bad habits approach it that way that we approach sometimes in life. How would I do that? How would I say that? And then they rehearse like, I don't want to go to the store. No, that's not it. It's, I don't want to go to the store. No, that's never going to work out. That's fakey, schmakey, acty, schmackty stuff. And the best acting is actually really real and truthful. That's a whole other topic, right? So you don't get to decide ahead of time how you will say the thing. You discover why I'm in this circumstance, why I'm in this place as an actor or in life. And then you get to discover how it's done. You get to discover how you'll say it in the moment. But see, people are so scared of that. Most people are running away from being in the moment. Why? Because in the moment, all the answers come. When you're in fear, deciding how I'm going to do that later, in the future, in the past, you're going to stay stuck in that fear. When you come into the present moment, you discover why, and then all the how comes on stage, on camera, and in life. Say your fear is, oh my gosh, I have this big health concern. Or I'm really scared for my kids. Like, oh my gosh, something bad is going to happen to my family. Or, oh my gosh, I'm so scared, my health, I just got this bad diagnosis. I ask you again to go to the why. Why am I scared? And 9 times out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, I would venture to say you're scared because your why is because I want to live, because I want my kids to be safe, because I love my kids, because I love my life. So in the presence and in discovering that why, you will return to love. And love always draws out fear. Love always draws out all those thoughts. Love is like going to that lice doctor with the big magnifying glass, getting each little intruding thought out hair by hair so that not one can escape. Love cleans it all up. But see, love can't live over there or back there. Love is right here. I'm scared because I love. I've had fearful thoughts from time to time about my daughter because I think it's a natural instinct. You want to protect your kids. And there are bad people in this world, unfortunately, and I'm very aware of that. So sometimes I've had those thoughts come in. And I remind myself, why do I care? Why am I scared? Because I love my daughter so much. That's why. And then I return to that love and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have everything. I am so rich. And it brings me back into the present moment so fast. And then I go, oh my gosh, it's a miracle. Everything is actually going great right now. We have our health. I love you. And again, even if you don't have your health, why am I scared? Or the health of a child or something like that. Why am I scared? Because I love them. So go to the love. Return to the love. Love really does heal. Hate, fear, and all that, they have done study after study. That is what actually causes disease. So it's not to negate the fear. Because I know that there's people, and some people might jump on here and go, well, Lea, the world's a terrible place, and I'm going to fight for that, and I know it's bad, and you can't tell me otherwise. And again, free will, to each his own, but how's that working out for you? I had a dear friend, still friend, not going to name names, but she protected the United States Pentagon from terrorism. And I asked her, I said, well, aren't you scared all the time? Like, how can you go to a big crowd? I was at an event with her one time with a big crowd. I said, oh my gosh, because sometimes I have these intruding thoughts of like, what if something happened here? And she said, well, Lea, I'm surveying the group all the time. She said, there are so many people protecting you and other people, especially Americans, that you don't even realize all the time. She said, just return to love and give thanks. Give thanks for every moment something isn't going awry. And give thanks for the people who are putting their life on the line every moment of every day behind the scenes that you'll never know. She's not on Facebook. She's not on YouTube. She didn't do any of that because of obvious reasons, right? She couldn't even share with me very much about her job. She was very secretive. But I did get a sense of safety when I was around her. Because yes, she was aware of all the dangers all the time. So it's not that you're silly and naive and like, oh, nothing ever bad could happen. No, you are aware that things bad can happen and do happen in the world. And that's why every second that something is going great, give thanks. Return to love. Appreciate that moment. Because there are more moments like that than the other. But the fear-mongering people want you to believe that it's all terrible. Because when you're operating in that fight or flight state, again, you can be easily controlled. You will give up on your dreams. You will be pliable to obey whatever controlling person throws your way. So ask yourself, why am I scared? Because I want the safety. Okay, is it safe right now? Yes. Oh, wow, give thanks. Be in gratitude for that. Eckhart Tolle says so much fear only comes from the past or future. It's very rare that something right in the moment is actually terrifying happening. And he gives the example of if you're being hung, like you're going to be walked to be hung, right? Like it's like the old Salem witchcraft trials or something. Which nowadays, it's a little hairy, right? We live in a little hairy world right now where it's like you're almost not even allowed to speak up. I can be totally understanding towards that. You speak up about joy, people are mad. I've done meditations on here, people are mad. You try to help somebody, people are mad. They'll defame you, right? So I understand that fear. But Eckhart Tolle says, in the moment, normally everything is fine. All that comes from that intrusive thinking that doesn't help you. And a lot of times it's infiltrated from the world and the messaging, or maybe from some past thing, some generational trauma that you're carrying now. So Eckhart Tolle talks about walking to your hanging. Two people are walking with you. Well, in the moment, you're just walking. In the moment, you're fine. See, your mind is scared of the future, being hung. But in the moment, you're just walking. And then you walk up and they put the thing around your neck and then boom, you're gone. Now, I know that's a really dramatic example, But it proves the point of most of the time the fear is in the future or the past. And if something really bad is happening in the actual moment, you still have an opportunity to return to love. Why do I hate this? Why do I wish this wasn't happening? Because I love. Because I love. The dangerous people in the world don't want you to go into the light of love. But there's always an opportunity to go into the light of love. Even if something terrifying is happening, go into the light of love. I have meditations on this channel that can help you to return to love. So maybe the fear is, everybody hates me. What if everyone hates me? Everyone's going to turn their back on me if I speak up, if I follow my dream. Fantastic. What a better way to find out who's with you than to follow your heart and be who you are. Bless them. Send them on their way. Whoever's for you will be there for you. People come and go, but the people who are always inherently for you will be there for you, even if you don't talk to them for years. I have some friends who I can go months without talking to, and then we come back as if nothing ever happened. That's true freedom and love. I know that there's some people out there who believe that they don't have a choice in anything. I hear that. I hear that with addicts a lot of times. Well, I don't have a choice. I have to get sober. No, you do. You have a choice. You always have a choice. You could be an addict. That's a choice. It's just a choice that you don't want to make. So it's much more empowering, in my opinion, to ask yourself, what is my choice? And what choice do I want to empowerly, what do I want to make in an empowered way? I shared on here that a few weeks back, I'm a melanoma survivor. I had melanoma in 2010, and I am 100% cancer-free now, and I'm so grateful. At one of my checkups, they got a little scared about something, and then I had to go into radiation and see and make sure everything's okay. And in that little interim time, a little fear got into me for a moment. And my daughter had heard the news. So when she says, Mommy, you could die, I said, well, yeah, honey, anybody can die at any time. And that's why we love every moment. That's why we choose to stay in gratitude, to love, and also talk to yourself the way that you would talk to a child. I remember a comic a long time ago I saw, I don't remember his name, otherwise I would give him credit for this joke, but it was so funny because he said, maybe somebody, if you know who this was, comment down below. But he said his daughter was like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. His little 6-year-old daughter, I'm so scared. There's monsters. And he climbed in the bed and he was like, I'm terrified. Which is so silly, right? Because you wouldn't talk to a kid that way unless you're a complete fear-mongering person. So talk to yourself the way that you would talk to a child. And remember, most of the reasons why you're scared is because you want love. You want to love your life. You want to love your kids. You want a loving relationship. Maybe you're in fear because your partner cheated on you, or they're a narcissist or something like that. Oh, find gratitude. Thank God I found out they're a narcissist. You know, I was engaged to a guy once, and I had no idea what fiance meant. Do you know? Fiance in French means, here, hold this ring while I go bang that girl. I didn't know, but I found out. And thank God I did. Thank God I didn't marry him. Maybe you do marry somebody and you find out they cheat or they are just terrible to you, right? I've talked a lot on this channel about narcissistic abuse, and it's very real. It's not to dismiss it and pretend it didn't happen. Acknowledge it. Know the signs of people like that who are just out to manipulate you, because yes, it can happen. But with knowledge, there's power. And even when you find out the most atrocious things about somebody's true character, it's an opportunity to give thanks. Thank God I know who they really are now. Thank God I can be released from this person who's highly manipulative and really evil in many ways. Anybody who's out to get somebody in that way is evil. And no, it's never the person's fault that, they always blame the other person. Well, it's your fault that they cheated because obviously you're doing something wrong. No, because if somebody is noble, they'll just come to you and they can, break up, get divorced, whatever, before they do that. Anybody who does that is operating out of darkness. So as horrific and terrifying as that experience can be, and I know my heart is with you if you're going through something like that, and those intrusive thoughts can come in. But remember, you've been set free. If they've discarded you, you've been set free. If you're having PTSD over a whole memory of something terrible, I've worked with people who've served in Afghanistan for years, and they have terrible PTSD. And doing this imaginative work and turning back to love in the presence has helped them. I have countless stories like that. So this stuff isn't just like, oh, that's airy fairy. No, this stuff can help. I know it. And that's why I'm offering it to you. If you believe in love, thank you. If you believe in love and you've subscribed to this channel, thank you. I see you and I am empowered by you. And if you believe in love and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and join this movement to raise your vibe, to raise consciousness on the planet. You matter. So when these intrusive thoughts come in, return to why. Imagine the circumstance that you would love to be in. Remember your why. Spend time in play. Again, I have classes. Oh, and I'm also offering a digital course so that you could take it anytime. And that's going to be launching very soon. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be manifesting through the Meisner technique, which is an acting technique I teach. So I'm very, very excited about that and to offer that to you. There's lots of different ways that you can access your imagination and return to love. And I have a video you can watch here or somewhere on rewiring your brain. There's so much help out there. So if you're allowing these intrusive thoughts to take over, I invite you to ask yourself, why? Why am I doing that?